good morning, good afternoon, or if it's neither of those, good evening or good night. What I wanted to, trim in the hood, wasn't it? What I want to do today, I would like to do, I suppose, I should say, is talk to you about why I set myself this target of wanting to go under 3 hours for the marathon. So, what I mean by sub 3 is literally that 2:59:59 is kind of the sort of target. And what I wanted to kind of go through on this video is kind of brush upon where that idea came from, and what I hope to kind of get out of the process, really. So I think, so the first part of that is that there's sort of some science behind the 3 hours. So based on the kind of shape I've got myself into, and when I got pretty fit last year, and I really went off the boil in the summer for some weird reason, but probably for another video, that one. And a few years ago, the kind of times I got down to, so we're indicating that I was around that kind of 3:10 marathon if I put the work in, based on 10k times, 5k times. So what I thought was, well, if I extend that period, so if I can kind of get into that kind of shape this year, then 3:10 to sub 3 isn't such a huge jump to try and then do through a winter. So the aim of the marathon is to do it next spring, so spring 2022. So give me a whole kind of 16th month period to really kind of work through. And trying, because I'd aim for a spring one rather than a summer or even later in the autumn. I like to do the miles in the winter. But the kind of second part of it was really that I sort of needed a focus. I think that's one thing I've really got out of this third lockdown. Is I just needed to have a focus, something to really kind of work towards. And I think really that's just because I think the last few years, I don't know how to word it, I just sort of really kind of, I naturally struggle with self-esteem as it is. And those of you who know me quite well and have worked with me, maybe hide behind the kind of the funny guy, or trying to be helpful and hardworking and those elements to it. But at the same time, there is a huge amount of self-doubt. There is a huge amount of lack of self-belief, really not thinking that I'm worthy, I think is kind of the way to in my own head. And I'm a huge advocate of it doesn't matter what the people think, because I know immediately what the reaction from a lot of you would be. But it doesn't really matter what the people think. It's what you think and what you feel about yourself. And that's kind of part of where this sub 3 project came from, is that I think for a few weeks ago, really something had been tumbling around my head, and I was really struggling to sleep and kind of waking up in the night and just sort of something was tumbling around in my head. And then one morning I woke up and watched the Ineos sub 2 with obviously the GOAT, Eliud Kipchoge, and it suddenly clicked. I just thought, hang on a minute, why don't I do something that is really outside of what I'm currently capable of, but something to work towards, to have to put a plan in place to then work through that plan kind of through different periods and extend that so that it then became achievable. So I'm a huge fan of plans. My wife will tell you I'm forever writing lists, but I do like to be organised, understand what I'm doing. I've done that with work in the past. You kind of need to have that sort of tactics and strategy, and obviously strategy is your overall goal, where you want to go, and then the tactics in between that, which might be certain steps that you need to kind of work through to understand where you're whether you're on track or off track, what you need to then do. And I kind of pride myself, that doesn't get used that word very often with myself, but it's one thing I do take pride in, is that I can organise myself, and I don't mind working hard. I like to graft. I like to really kind of put the work in. And I think that's kind of part of what this sub 3 was doing. Was I wanted to use running, which seems to be, you know, it's the only sport I was kind of only good at really at school. You grow up in a rugby town, and you don't particularly like getting hit. Then you need to find something really. So my brother, he got the tough man gene. He went to play rugby, and I got the run away from trouble quickly gene, and I got into running naturally. But I think I wanted to use running, and there's been a few points in my life when running has really helped. You know, I think, and funnily enough, they've kind of been centered around marathons actually. The first marathon I did was Barcelona. We were really lucky that my old job paid for us to do an event once a year, and Barcelona Marathon was one of them. And I wasn't really that fussed about doing it, and I kind of got goaded by some of the people that were doing it, saying, well, we're doing it, why aren't you? And I thought, okay. And that was 2013. And what I found when I kind of decided to have a go, so this would have been late 2012 when I started the training, and we'd had a horrific year in 2012. So those of you who don't know, we've only ever got pregnant once, and we lost a baby in 2011, and it was so 2012 was horrible. It was just an awful year. And what I really found was that running gave me a focus through that winter of 2012 into 2013 to really kind of not punish myself, but I just found a focus and something to really kind of to work at, and I really enjoyed the process. And then I ran the marathon, and it was of the three I've done, they've got progressively worse, but I'll talk through that in a moment. And it was a brilliant weekend, a fantastic group of work colleagues that were just the most amazing people, and just excellent. Really enjoyed the experience. And there it was 26 degrees, and I won't make any excuses. And I'd done the training, and it just didn't work out. But I was at number one done. And then it was the second marathon was 2015. And we'd gone through the adoption process, and we'd been approved, and we were matched with children. And we thought, well, hang on, I really wanted to kind of focus again that summer before we became parents on something to really get my teeth into, sort of again prove something to myself, and maybe that's the kind of word I was maybe looking for. So I did a really good training. It's probably I think sprinting in the old days or on a road at university is probably the fittest I think I've got was 2015. It really got myself into shape. And but what I had done is I'd neglected the kind of the fundamentals around. I was just running, and I'd neglected all the other bits that went with it, and I really hurt my back on the marathon. And again, that was a second disaster. And then the third one was 2016, when I got a London Marathon place through the running club, and I thought, well, it's rude not to. I was carried on that kind of running a little bit. We got the kids by that point, and it was quite stressful at first. And I thought, well, I'll keep running, and it keeps my attention away from things, and I could kind of escape for a little bit. I'm sure those of you who adopted or know people that have adopted would kind of understand what those first few months are like. And again there, and I think because there was just too many other things going through my head at that point, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to race it or run it or race it. I just didn't know what to do. And London came along, and I was doing okay. And again there, I hadn't fixed the problems with my back, and my back flared up, and that's probably the worst experience. I remember getting to, I think it was about mile 19, and I just couldn't lift my knees, couldn't move, and I walked right through to the mile, because I really wanted the medal and the t-shirt. Walked through the mile, and then ran. Well, when I say ran, sort of a hobble, and got my medal and my t-shirt. And then I really kind of went off the marathon. I thought, I don't really want to do that again. and I've not done huge amounts since. I've done bits with the club, and I ran a decent 10k in 2015, which is probably the last time I really had a focus on something, and just missed 40 minutes with 40:03. And I thought this time, and again, that's what been tumbling around in my head, is I thought, right, let's have a go. And I remember a few years back, excuse me a second. Java. A few years ago, that I put a shout out on Facebook. I think it was when we were having a difficult time. We those of you who don't know, we did originally adopt 2 children, and now we just have one. And it just, unfortunately, we couldn't get them to settle as a pair. And at the sort of towards the end of that, we were having a really difficult time, and I put a shout on Facebook just because I think I needed to reach out to people about what people thought of me. So I think I was sure at that time. And there's some wonderful comments that people write, and every time it flashes up on my memories on Facebook, it's lovely to kind of read, and I think that's the important thing sometimes, is that it doesn't matter what people think, but you should listen to what people say, and it's your choice whether you kind of take that on board, and I do, and I'm always thankful that people took the time to write some lovely things. But a couple of my friends naturally are a sarcastic bunch, and don't always want to goad you. One of the remarks was about my state as a marathon runner, and that I wasn't a very good one. Those weren't the quite words, but I'll be polite. And that the thought popped in my head again when I was thinking about this project, that I thought, that should be really a quote to kind of to live by, and it was only said in jest, and only taken as a jest, and I'm not not offended by it at all. But I love a challenge, and those who know me and have got in my head in the past when I've been coached, and that if you tell me I can't do something, that's just like lighting a blue touch paper. So I never really been one for following rules and doing as I'm told. I tend to always kind of, especially when they're stupid rules. But I do like to find my own path with things, and it's not that I'm stubborn or won't listen to other people. I say you should, but sometimes I think you've got to make your own path in things. And I say when somebody puts a challenge at you, you got to go, okay, yeah, let's see what I can do. So that's part of what this is. I think that it's a nice round figure, the 3 hours. It fits in with times that I've run previously in the past, and it's just it would push me further than what I have been capable of before. And all of a sudden the pieces started to kind of come together, and I thought, okay, well, why don't I have a crack at this and have a plan and go for it? So